Thursday night and Friday morning was one of the most remarkable nights in the U.S. Capitol that we've seen in a really long time.
It was difficult to even move in the press galleries because so many people were just listening and watching with rapt attention. You know, it was just the entire, side of the press gallery was sort of leaning to see what they could hear, what they could discern from John McCain as he was discussing his vote and what was going to happen.
At one point, McCain walked across from the Republican side of the chamber to the Democratic side of the chamber. He very visibly to the sky mouthed a four-letter word starting with F and ending with K, and in doing so was clearly trying to get everybody's attention. Now, I heard from some reporters who talked to Amy Klobuchar, the Democrat from Minnesota, after the incident, that McCain was really playing a game on all the reporters, that McCain didn't really have a problem. He had already made up his mind that he was going to vote no, and he knew that there were dozens and dozens of members of the media who were gathered high above, who would see his use of the expletive there, and just wanted to have a little fun at 1:30 in the morning.
As the word started to spread, that you could see the leadership in the Republican Party, John Cornyn, Mitch McConnell, get a little less excited. And eventually they sent John McCain's home state colleague, Jeff Flake, over to talk to McCain next to his seat. He sat there, and it was almost a little sad because Flake was trying to get a word in edgewise. He wanted to he was sitting right next to McCain, and McCain really wasn't acknowledging him, probably knowing what was going on. He kept on talking to Murkowski and Collins, and Flake kind of kept on leaning in, and this went on for quite some time. Flake was really never able to get a word in edgewise.
One of the most remarkable moments was when Vice President Mike Pence, who had been presiding over the Senate, thinking that he was going to be there to break a tie, had to come down from atop the dais and basically try and cajole McCain to vote in favor of the amendment. He was down there for probably at least 15 minutes trying to win over McCain. It wouldn't work, but there was nonetheless stunned expressions on the faces of many senators as what played out actually did play out.
And when he came out, signaled for attention and then just said no. There's a gasp that went out of in the chamber, in the galleries, and so forth. It was almost as if people couldn't believe it. It was a sort of a monumental moment. The Democrats and Chuck Schumer were quick to sort of try to shush people and to let them know, hey, this is this is not the time to gloat. It almost seemed like the Democrats might have learned their lesson after the House passage of the repeal bill back in May.
1644 as amended, on which the yeas and nays are ordered. Clerk will report the title of the bill.
H.R. 1644, a bill to enhance sanctions with respect to transactions related to North Korea and for other purposes.
Passions run high in politics, but this really did look like, kind of dancing in the end zone. It looked a little like, that they were celebrating a little too much, even in losing. And I don't know if people really thought that the Republican effort would get this far. And so Schumer and his troops, again, were decidedly less ebullient in the chamber. After the vote, the hallways were just sort of mobbed. There's a well of elevators right next to the where senators leave the floor on the Senate, in the Senate side, and it was truly just a packed scene at 2:30 in the morning. One thing that struck me about McCain, he could have easily ducked into an elevator where we would not have been able to follow him at any point. He not only left the floor and went into this elevator well bank, but then he went and he took the stairs down by the Battle of Lake Erie painting. He walked that. He's 80 years old and he has brain cancer and he's been beat up nonstop, it seems, for the last 50, 60 years of his life. And he took the stairs and took questions from dozens of reporters, knowing that they were going to mob him. And you know, he answered their questions, but he also wanted to get home too. But that was sort of struck me. He could have just bolted into an elevator like a lot of members of Congress do to avoid the press. But he went there and just kind of, you know, and took the stairs, if you will.